ProfessorBlackOps. You see it, let's get it. Microsoft signed the RootKit, which is a very, very, very bad thing. So let's get into the article. Microsoft admits to signing a RootKit malware in the supply chain fiasco. Microsoft now confirms signing a malicious driver and being distributed within the gaming environment. This driver, called Netfilter, is in fact a rootkit that was observed communicating with the Chinese command and control IPs. G-Data malware analyst Karsten first took notice of this event last week and was joined by a wider infosec community in tracing and analyzing the malicious driver being with the seal of Microsoft. The incident had once again exposed threats to the supply chain security, except this time it stemmed from a weakness in Microsoft code signing process. The Netfilter Driver is a rootkit signed by Microsoft. Last week, G-Data Cyber Security Alert System flag was appeared to be a false positive, but was not. A Microsoft signed driver called Netfilter. The driver in question was seen communicating with a Chinese-based command and control IPs, providing no legitimate function and such raised suspicion. This is when G-Data malware analyst Karsten shared this publicly and simultaneously contacted Microsoft. So if you look on the screen, that shows you the signed driver that was officially signed by Microsoft. Since Windows Vista, any code that runs in the kernel mode is required to be tested and signed before publicly released to ensure stability for the operating system. Drivers without the Microsoft certificate cannot be installed by default. At the time of the writing, began observing the behavior of the CT URL and also contacted Microsoft for a statement. The first C2 URL returns a set of more URLs separated by the pipe symbol, which you see. Each of the service or purposes, according to Hahn, the URL ending in P is associated with the proxy settings. S provides encoding redirected IPs. H is received by the CPU ID. /C provides a root certificate, and /V is related to the malware self-updating functionality. As seen by Bleeping Computers, for example, the /V provides URL malicious network filters in question, living in /D. The G-Data research spent some time sufficiently analyzing the driver and concluded that it is malware. The researcher also analyzed the driver itself updating functionality in accordance with indicators of compromise in IOC detailed in the blog post. The sample is updated routine that sends a MD5 hash to the server 1042.4.180. That example request looks like this. The server then responds with the URL with the latest sample 110.42.4.180 colon 288, or with OK as a sample is up to date. The malware replaces its own file accordingly, furtherly explained by the researcher. During the course of the analysis, Hahn, joined by other malware researchers, Roth was able to gather the list of the samples in a spreadsheet and provide that with the URL rules for detecting these in your environment, in your network environment. Notable, the C2 IP 110.42.4.180, that's a malicious Netfilter driver connected to belong to the Nizal's Innovation Network Technology Ltd, according to the Whois. So once you do it, the Whois, it shows it's actually a foreign company. Microsoft actually admitted to signing the malicious driver. Microsoft actually is investigating the incident. Although this far, there is no evidence that the stolen code signed certificates were used. This may have seemed to have resulted from a threat actor following the Microsoft process to submit malicious network drivers and managing to acquire a Microsoft signed binary in a legitimate manner. Microsoft is investigating a malicious actor distributing a malicious driver within the gaming environment. The actor submitted drivers for certifications through the Windows Hardware Compatibility Program. The drivers was built by a third party. We have suspended the account and reviewed their submission for additional signs of malware, said Microsoft yesterday. According to Microsoft, the threat actors have mainly targeted the gaming sector, specifically in China, with the malicious driver. There's no indication of enterprise environments have been affected thus far. Microsoft has refrained from attributing the incident to a nation-state actor just yet. Falsely signed binaries can be abused by sophisticated threat actors to facilitate a large-scale software supply chain attack. The multifaceted Stuxnet attack that targeted Iran nuclear power marks a well-known incident in which code signing certificates were stolen from Realtek and G-Micro to facilitate the attack. This particular incident, however, exposed weaknesses in a legitimate code signing process exploited by threat actors to acquire Microsoft signed code without compromising any certificates. Once again, Microsoft signed RootKit malware accidentally, I guess, and it looks like it was from a nation state. Once again, out there, Microsoft, we have to do better. Professor Black Ops, cybersecurity for the people. Please subscribe.